Is the BenQ HT8050 the kind of projector that will actually upgrade your weekend movie nights? Or is it a luxury that only a hardcore home theater junkie can appreciate? Who should consider spending a few $1,000s on a 4K DLP machine? Who can safely skip it? And does the price make sense for someone who just wants a solid picture without turning the living room into a mini theater? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you start looking at high-end home cinema projectors, the first thing that creeps into your mind is risk. You might end up with a giant box that looks amazing on paper but turns out to be a headache to set up. Or you could end up paying a premium for specs that never really matter in your everyday viewing environment. The BenQ HT8050 sits right in the middle of that decision space. It markets itself as a THX-certified 4K DLP projector, promising cinema-level color accuracy and contrast, but the real question is whether those promises translate into a smoother experience in a typical suburban living room, a bedroom, or even a small home office that doubles as a media space. Let's walk through what you actually get when you unbox the HT8050, and why that matters. First, the projector uses a single 0.47-inch DLP chip paired with a laser light source. Laser means you get a consistent brightness over the lifespan of the unit, and you won't be dealing with the warm-up times that traditional lamps demand. In practice, that means you can walk into the room, hit the power button, and have a bright image ready within a few seconds, a small but noticeable convenience if you're the type who likes spontaneous movie marathons. Brightness is rated at 2,800 lumens, which on paper sounds plenty for a dim room. In my own test setup, I had the projector mounted a few feet off the ceiling, projecting onto a 120-inch screen with some ambient light from a couple of floor lamps. The image held its detail and stayed vivid, though the darkest blacks started to lift a bit when the lights were on. That's a trade-off you'll see with most laser DLP units in brighter environments. You get consistent brightness, but you sacrifice a touch of deep black performance compared to a true 4K LCD or an ultra-shortthrow with higher contrast ratios. If you're planning to use the HT8050 as the primary display for daytime TV or gaming with lights on, you'll probably notice that the blacks aren't as inky as a dedicated cinema screen, but the colors stay saturated enough that the picture still feels immersive. Color accuracy is where the THX certification shines. BenQ tuned the HT8050 to hit the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is wider than the standard Rec. 709 used for most TV content. In a side-by-side comparison with a 4K TV in the same room, the projector rendered reds and greens with a pop that the TV struggled to match, especially in dark scenes. For movie lovers who care about staying true to the director's intent, that extra color depth can be a real selling point. It also means that HDR content looks more lifelike, the highlights stretch further, and the shadows retain detail without completely crushing the nuance. However, you'll need to feed the projector a source that actually delivers HDR10 or Dolby Vision. Plain 1080p streams won't magically become HDR just because the projector can handle it. One practical aspect many reviewers gloss over is the lens shift and zoom capabilities. The HT8050 offers a decent vertical lens shift of about 30%, which lets you fine-tune the image height without physically moving the projector. The zoom range, while not ultra-wide, covers the typical throw distances you'd encounter in a 10 to 12-foot room. In my own setup, I was able to place the projector on a low shelf, run a short ceiling-mounted cable, and still get a perfectly rectangular image without keystone correction. That saves you from dealing with the ugly distortion that many cheaper units introduce when you try to cheat on placement. Now, who should actually consider buying this thing? If you already have a dedicated home theater room, with a proper screen, controlled lighting, and you watch a lot of 4K Blu-ray or streaming services that support HDR, the HT8050 is a solid upgrade. Its laser source gives you over 20,000 hours of use without a bulb replacement, so the long-term cost of ownership is lower than a lamp-based projector. The THX certification and DCI-P3 coverage make it a good match for cinephiles who want that cinema-grade color fidelity. It also works well as a gaming projector. The input lag is low enough for most console players, and the 60Hz refresh rate holds up fine for 4K gaming at 30 frames per second or 1080p at higher frame rates. Conversely, if you live in a bright apartment, don't have a screen, or only watch casual TV and YouTube, you might be better off with a high-end 4K TV. The extra cost of a projector screen, mounting hardware, and a darker room can quickly add up, eroding the price advantage the HT8050 seems to have over a comparable TV. Also, because BenQ does not authorize direct